Hello, I'm Wes, the Explosion, this is the Backlog, and I had a great time this week, so I've been looking forward to sharing. Yeah!
So, I kept my promise. I beat Mario 3D World this week. Now, it wasn't too long ago that I actually beat this on the Wii U. I had originally played this with a friend, and somehow we actually sat through it and beat it in one day. But then I had my own copy that I hadn't played, so when they announced this version for the Switch, I decided I need to beat my old copy before I play the revamped one, otherwise it'll feel like a waste of money having picked that up. So this one's actually somewhat fresh in my mind. So yeah, I can actually, I think, compare these games pretty well. Now, let's just, get the basics out of the way first. The whole story of this game is one day Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad are walking along and they find a mysterious tunnel pipe thing that they fix. And then out pops 7 fairies, which are immediately captured by Bowser. He wants them to, I don't know, use their carpentry skills and magic and stuff in a plot that actually seems a lot more Eggman than Bowser, but I don't want to spoil what the final level is, so you'll have to just see what I mean when you get there. Now, the Switch remake port, I don't know, it's probably more of a port. It actually has a few differences. You'd think as recent as it was, they just, format it so it can run on the Switch and leave it as it is. But no, they actually swapped some things up. Now, the one I actually had to look up because it felt this way, but I wanted actual confirmation. I thought it might have been in my head. It's faster now. I think the reports that I saw were that you run about 20 to 30% faster in this game, which it makes it so that you get through levels a lot quicker. It can also make it a little tricky-dicky to control. I started the game as Mario, or as I will call him, Slippery Pete, because of just how all over the place it was. And I ended the game with Peach. I think there was like a star that I needed her specifically to get to step on a switch or something, and once I started using her, I saw no reason to not, because it was just, she moved at a good pace. She's the slowest character, her big advantage is she can float, and it just made it a lot more manageable. The game overall, I mean. They also threw in a few mechanics from Mario Odyssey, oddly enough. Like, you can do a forward roll to get around a bit quicker, which was a maneuver in that. I believe they also put in the ground pound jump, where if you ground pound and then jump, you do like a quicker, higher jump. So that's neat. It's really neat that they brought back some stuff like that. They also did a few quality of life improvements. The main two that I noticed, the first was that you save your stars when you die. By which I mean, in each level, there's 3 stars and a stamp. Now, it's been a little while, but not too long, so I'm pretty sure I'm right here. But in the past, if you got stars in a level, if you got to a save point, it would keep the stars that you got. But if you got a save point, got like the second star, say, and then died, you would go back to the save point, and the star that you got since getting the save point, the second star in this case, you would need to re-get. With this, you can get the star, die, and then you'll just keep it. As long as you complete the level, you'll have whatever stars you got, no matter when you got them. Which, that did allow me to cheese a few oddball stars. But, it was really, really nice. I think I realized it because there's this one ice level where you get 2 stars very soon after the save point, and I remembered getting the first star really easily, but then when I got like the other star, sometimes I would die doing that, so I would need to go back and reclaim both stars before I could advance the level, at least if I wanted them in my stinking inventory. And when I realized that I didn't have to do that after screwing it up once, I noticed that, yeah, they fixed it. They fixed it. They made it more manageable, more user-friendly. It's great. The other thing, and this is a problem with like a lot of Mario games that's super annoying, is if you play the game and you get like a billion lives, right? And then you say, okay, I need to go and do something else. I'll come back to this later. When you come back in, your billion lives will be gone. It'll put you back at whatever the default lives were. Like in this game, I think it's 5. But here, it seems that even in between play sessions, it'll save whatever power-ups you have equipped and whatever, whatever lives you have. Which is great. It's really great. It's always super frustrating when you're playing a Mario game and you go through the easy levels, put up a ton of lives, take a break, and then come back to the hard levels when you actually need multiple lives, and they're just not there for you anymore. Oh yeah, did I mention that you can save power-ups? I think they might have had that in this game, but yeah, it's neat, because if you have a power-up, then get another power-up, it'll save the power-up you had previously, so you can just throw it out, whenever you need it. So it doesn't feel worthless if you have a power-up to, pick up new ones, because you can hold them, but only one extra one at a time. You can't hoard them. Now, in case you can't tell by the way I'm talking, I actually really, really enjoyed this. I played the game a little into the post-game. I made it so that I got the secret character that you can unlock. I know this is a somewhat older game, but on the off chance you didn't play it, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's neat. It's neat. So I played till that long, and chances are I will go back and try and 100% this, because I liked it. I really liked it. For a while, I always just considered myself, like, a casual Mario fan. I don't know what you want to say about it, but I always figured Mario was very basic. That, yeah, I like Mario because he's a platformer. Not necessarily the biggest fan of Mario himself, but after playing this, I might just like Mario, okay? I think I'm gonna admit it. I think I really like Mario. Now, all that said, there were, like, a few oddball problems with this. Nothing game-breaking, of course, nothing, nothing earth-shattering. But yeah, just like with any 3D platforming game, there are always issues with perspective. Now, you can kinda use your shadow in this, but that'll only take you too far, especially if there's something in your way. But I can't really count that too much against it, given that that is just a stinking problem with platformers in 3D in general. But it's worth noting that there will be some frustrating little bits. Now, me personally, there's a few types of levels that I didn't like, which I don't know if they're bad or if it's just me, but the scrolling levels, I hate scrolling levels, okay? I always either want to go too fast and just end up waiting and waiting and waiting for it to scroll far enough for me to go, or there will be parts where I get overwhelmed and I get dragged behind, and that's how I lose. But, like I said, that's probably more of just a me thing, because, like, it is a test of skill. You need to slow your roll and go at the pace that the game wants you to go. The other thing is the Bowser car, man. The Bowser car sucks. You saw me play it earlier, and there's a more advanced version of it later down the line. But my gosh, that is just slow, so slow going. You have to wait for him to stop spitting fireballs and actually shoot the things, the bomby things. You have to hit him 9 times in that frickin' one, whereas most bosses are only 3, and yeah, it just sucks. But again, that could be a me thing. The water levels, I also didn't much care for those, but again, me thing. The only, like, real thing I'd say that they probably could have done better is just how I said about the improved speed. I mean, that's just it. I say improved, but the enhanced speed. Because some people might have trouble with the enhanced speed. Like, I can get through the game alright. I probably could have even did it just fine with Mario. But hey, if Peach is now not the slowest thing under the sun, I'd rather use her, because I just like Peach, okay? So, yeah, like with that though, it might be difficult for some people, so I think they should have had a toggle for it where you can choose, do you want to play it classic or do you want to play it like turbo? And that's really the only honest thing I can say that, they could have did better in this game. Now that said, here comes the weird part. Do I recommend the game? And there's like 3 answers to this. Have you never played this? Probably because you didn't own a Wii U, because nobody owned a Wii U. Then, yeah, absolutely, wanna play this game. A good frickin' time. Have you played the game before and you really, really loved it and you're just looking for another excuse to play it? Because quality of life improvements here, it might be enough. The new thing, the new speed and everything, yeah, you might want this. So yeah, if you're a big fan of it, pick up the remake, sure. Now, if you played it before, you thought it was alright, but you don't see the need to play it again, maybe not. That is, unless Bowser's Fury was also on the collection, and it's a brand new game. It's semi-open world? You're on a series of islands in Archipelago, and yeah, there's levels, specific islands on each, where you can do specific things for specific cat sprites in this case. Now, the whole story with this is you come to this series of islands after falling in a bunch of black paint. And when you get there, surprise, surprise, it's your special boy with the paintbrush, Bowser Jr. He says his dad's gone crazy and he would like some assistance in getting him back to his normal brand of mean and nasty, and not so much the giant kaiju mean and nasty. So you team up and you collect cat sprites and everything is cat themed, and I like cats, so you know what? This is right up my alley. Now, as I said, there's a series of islands. There's like 3 main sections to the map, each one with some islands, and then some other ones, some other little sections that are not part of the island, where you can just get standalone cat sprites. Now, each section of the island, I haven't gone back since beating it, so I don't know if there's more yet. But in the main part of the game, there's 5 missions on each. Now, 3 of them are progressive based, and the other ones, they come about during specific circumstances. The first one in each one, which is part of the progression, is get to the lighthouse. You get to the lighthouse, you find a cat sprite, and the next time you visit the island, although you do need to leave and let it respawn, another mission will pop up. Now you do these 3, and then there's 2 more, as I said. The second sprite for each level, which will always be the second sprite, is there's 5 cat chips sitting around. And typically, if you just do the first mission and you keep an eye open, you'll find all 5 of them. Once you get them all, they combine and you get another sprite. That's great. Now, the last one that you get, which will be the same every time, is there's what's called Fury Blocks. And for Fury Blocks, you just gotta find them, and when Bowser's activated, Fury Bowser, Giga Bowser, Giga Bowser, he will shoot fire at you, which I don't think I talked about Fury Bowser. From what the internet tells me, about every 6 minutes, Fury Bowser will activate, and he'll just be stomping around the map. When he sees you, he'll shoot like a fire beam at you, which will break the Fury Blocks, which hide a cat shine every time. And he'll also drop platformers, which you can use to get around easier, or they can get in your way. And he can also destroy them with the flame breath, so it's a good way for him to kind of bait you and get a hit off on you too. So, yeah. That's the whole thing with that. Other mechanics worth mentioning, which, of course, Bowser Jr.'s with you, and he'll help you out. I set him on, like, a little helpful, which was the basic one. you can set him to none, but it just didn't seem right to have him along and have him do nothing. And he'll attack enemies, he'll collect coins. He actually was, even on, the lower difficulty, well, the lower rate of help. He was still pretty helpful. I only imagine that at higher ones, he's probably just doing practically the whole game for you. You can also store power-ups like in 3D World, but you can store up to 5 of each, so that way you're never not prepared for whatever challenges are popping up. And we've also gotten to the part of the video, this is Fury Bowser. He's coming after you. The way you get rid of him is after so much time he'll go away, or if you get a Shine Sprite, Cat Sprite, he'll also go back into his little ink cocoon thingy-majiggy, and it'll do a bit of damage to him too. Once you get enough sprites, you can activate the Giga Bell, and you can fight him, which I think I'm going for a Fury block here, so I guess we won't see. But it's pretty neat, and you have to do it multiple times throughout the game. I was worried going in when they showed the trailer that they had shown the entire frickin' game. So it was very neat that they didn't, that there's more to the game than just that. You don't just fight him once and that's that. Also worth mentioning, if you have the Bowser Amiibo, either Mario or Smash series, you can activate Fury Bowser at any point, which, I mean, when you need him to get certain sprites, I don't normally use, like, Amiibos for things, for their functionality, because it seems like cheating. But if my option is either you use the Amiibo and you get things done, or you just stand around and wait for 6 minutes, sure, I'm okay with bending my personal rules a little bit. Oh, and the dinosaur, the Plessy dinosaur man thing that, you travel around on for certain levels in 3D World is back, and that's... You can swim to any area on the map once it opens up, but if you want to get there in any sort of reasonable time, you use Plessy there. I think he's Plessy. I don't know. I could look it up, but this is a very informal review, so whatever. And it's good. Just overall, the game is very good. This is another one I plan on going back and, 100%ing at some point. There are 100 sprites, so it's not too hard to... Yeah, I don't think it'll be too hard to get everything. I might need to use a guide for some of the more obscure ones, but I think I'll be able to get at least 80 of them. Don't ask how I got that number, but I'm saying it right now. I'll be able to get 80 of them without needing to look anything up. So, the one caveat to the game, it doesn't take long to beat. I heard the average playtime is 3 to 6 hours. I probably did it in a little over 3, maybe closer to 4. It is a little hard to tell because I had such fun with this game that it might have been longer and I just didn't notice because of what a grand time I was having. That said, if you already played 3D World, and this would be the only new thing for you, it might not be worth it just because of how short it is, but oh man, even saying that, I feel like if you don't play this and you're a fan of Mario games, you're missing out. So I'm just gonna leave it up to your judgment. You've heard me gush about it, so, it's up to you to decide. It's up to you to decide whether this is worth it. For me, having played both versions, I absolutely do not regret this at all. Last game this week, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, or, if you prefer, Luigi's Mansion 2. Now, this is a weird one. I started playing it a while ago, only got a few missions in, and then just put it down because the mechanics weren't exactly to my liking. Because of this, I kinda had to remember a lot of things really quickly, and that kinda hampered my experience a little bit. But that's more on me. Now, in this game, Luigi has found some haunted houses, locations again, the last one being a mansion, but the rest not so much, and he teams up with Egad. There's this thing called the Dark Moon, which has been shattered into pieces, and it's being used to make all of the normally friendly ghosts in the area not so nice, and Luigi has to go around, collect them, and stop them from being quite so bad. Now, the way he does this is with the flashlight and the vacuum again. And there's some more functions this time. For starts, unlike the first Luigi's Mansion game, he can't just flash them. He needs to charge a flash and then hit the ghost with it, which is kind of a pain in the butt because you can't turn the way you're facing when you're doing it, so you need to know which way you want it pointed when you start to charge. While you're sucking up the ghost, if you pull in the opposite direction, you can get, I don't know what you want to call it, a charge attack or what, but you can get a harder pull on them and take out chunks of their HP as well. So that's a fun little function, and it can be upgraded throughout the course of the game if you get enough money. The other odd little function that you have is something called a dark light, which if the ghosts in the game have made an object in the room disappear, you can shine it on it, suck up the bubbles that come out from it, and that'll make whatever it is visible and tangible again, which you need to use in certain puzzles. Which is the other weird part about the game. This game at points just makes me feel stupid because, like, if it's interactable, most of the time you need to do something with it. I think one of the more bizarre puzzles involved going into a room, pulling pulling a pull string, which is obvious in retrospect, to activate one thing, then making the fan spin around in the room to make a bed go back into the wall, which revealed an elevator, which you activated the elevator by standing on it, but you weren't heavy enough to activate the elevator, so what you needed to do was pick up a bucket, fill it with water, and then stand on it. And that's just one example of the puzzles in this game. There were a lot of times where I just needed to look up a walkthrough. I guess this was supposed to be more of a trial and error sort of thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the size of my backlog. I just didn't really want to take the time to push and prod every single object in the room until I figured out exactly what combination of actions I needed and what order the actions needed to take. So, yeah, I eventually got through it. It's fun. It's fun. Though there are some frustrating parts, like the stinking Polterpup that I guess is supposed to be this game's kind of mascot-y thing. They at least leaned on him pretty heavily in Luigi's Mansion 3. He sometimes steals the key and you need to chase him down, and that could get a little annoying. And there were also some of the bosses that were just awful. Like, there's one where you had to go up a series of 20 stairs, and each row of stairs had 3 staircases. Only one of them was the right one. And if you went up the wrong one, the stairs would turn into a ramp, you would slide all the way down to the bottom, and you would have to fight a ghost in order to continue progressing. There was a way you could see which one was the right one, but that only activated after failing once, and it only lasted for so long, so you could only see about 3 rows of what the correct answer was. This one was awful. I have no idea how the hell it made it into the game, because it's just like the game is pissing in your eye. I don't know why this was. The ice monster, if you ever get to it, I won't spoil too much how that went. That one also just seemed like if they tweaked it a little bit, it could have been fun, but the way they presented it made it more frustrating than anything. Overall, I'd say this is the worst Luigi's Mansion game, but given that there's only 3 in the series, that doesn't make it bad. Like, the first one has more personality, the third one has more content, and is more clear-cut, and contains multiplayer elements, which is great. And then this one this one's still fun, it can just be a little irritating. So pretty much what I'd say is, if you can find a copy, play it, but do not feel bad if you need to look up a walkthrough. Some of the puzzles are really, really obtuse and just out there. You have to be a crazy person to just be able to tell at a glance what it wants you to do. So there is no shame in it. It'll make it a lot more playable, and you'll probably have a good time. A few probably frustrating parts here and there, but overall I'd say a good time.
So, that's this week's games. Anybody else pick up 3D World plus Bowser's Fury? What do you think? Will you pick it up now that I've said that it's a good idea? At least for most. I'm very interested. One last thing that's worth mentioning is that I finished a book. Cuphead. Mountain of Trouble. This is an odd one, at least for me, because it's at the reading level where I would say that you wouldn't have a kid read it, but it would be very good to read to a child, if that makes sense. Now, I love Cuphead, so I'm all on board. If I had kids, I'd read this to them. It's very cute and has a very unique writing style, where Cuphead, of course, is based off of 30s cartoons, especially Rubber Hose, so they describe a lot of visual gags in it, which you can just picture perfectly being in a cartoon, being animated and all that. It's really cool, and it's, like, I don't think I've ever read anything with this sort of thing in it, so it's awesome. In it, Cuphead goes to camp, they get into a rivalry with another camp, which contains a bunch of the baddies from the game itself, and in the end, maybe everybody learns a lesson. But that's all I'm going to tell you for right now.
So, we have one game cleared this week and one game that we finished so we didn't have to add it into the list, which brings us down to 135. Not a bad number. Haven't decided what I'm gonna do next, but I do know I need to start playing some of the longer games. Otherwise, we're going to get to the point where every week it's just going to be playing Persona 5. Yup, still doing it. And that's gonna be that, which is not gonna be really great for content, so maybe I should mix it up a little bit, at least start bleeding off some of the parts of those longer games. Oh, also wanted to say, Nintendo Direct this week. There was a few interesting things, but the main thing, Splatoon 3. I talked about Splatoon 2 before, and I don't know, I guess we'll have to see going forward, but this one looks like it could be a unique of an experience enough that Splatoon 2 might still be worth it, even with it coming out next year. But either way, I'm not missing out on any of it. I will pick that sucker up day one. Also, I was previously doing Let's Plays on a channel that I had with my brother, but it slowly just became me talking in a room by myself. So I put it on hold so I could start this project, but I think I might be ready to go back and fiddle with it a little bit. So yeah, if I do that, I'll probably put a link either in this video or the next one, and I might play Cuphead. I've talked about how much I love it the past 2 weeks with the art book, and now with the little book thingy, novel, I don't know what you want to call it. But yeah, it might just be time to play it through. So look forward to that if you want to see some high-level gameplay. Otherwise, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, maybe consider subscribing. I try and pop these out once a week, and I'll see you next time for more games.